If you've ever done any type of research, then you know that the first thing you need to do is figure out what others have done in the area that you're interested in researching. And this can take a very long time, the literature review. You need to go and find articles and journals and see what others have said and researched around the subject you're interested in. And this can be especially challenging if you're looking for research gaps. You have to see everything that's been done before just to identify areas where you can add original knowledge or a contribution to the research. But the literature review is extremely important because it sets the stage for all of the research that you're going to do. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you an AI tool that lets you do that literature review much faster than you've ever been able to do it before, because it's going to go and do a lot of the acquiring of the information, the pulling of the information, the summarizing of the information, and the identification of gaps in the literature that you can then go and fill those gaps with your own great research. Let's go take a look at Answer This, a solution for those of you wanting to do an effective literature review in a very short period of time so that you can get on to adding an original contributing knowledge to the field that you're interested in researching. Hello and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Frank. I have a master's in learning and technology and have been teaching in a post-secondary institution for over 25 years. And on this channel, we look at how we can use technology to help us learn and teach more effectively, where I can share tools and ideas with you that I think will help you become a more effective learner and a more effective teacher. The tool we're going to take a look at today is called Answer This. You can find it at answerthis.io, and it's a really nice tool to do a lot of synthesis and searching, but it also can do an entire literature review for you. Now, when I say for you, it shouldn't be something that you use to replace your own judgment and your own work when it comes to the literature review, but it's going to save you a lot of time when it comes to searching for documents, synthesizing them together, and interacting with them. Let me show you. So we have answerthis.io. I've brought up the web page here, and you can see that I'm logged in as a pro user. So Answer This was kind enough to give me a pro user license to do this video so that I would be able to explore all of the features and really do unlimited queries. However, even the free tier allows you to get started and do some pretty amazing things. So I do recommend checking it out after you've seen this video if what you see interests you. So you can see I've got across the top, I've got home, which is this page here for searching. We can chat with PDFs, extract data, search papers. I'll show you that in a moment. We can generate a literature review on the topic or the research question that we're interested in. We can also import our own documents into a library. So this is very handy if I have my own papers or the papers of colleagues that I want to put in here, or papers that I may have gotten through a subscription to an academic journal and such. I can import them in and I can use them here in this library as well. Again, search papers. I can look at all of the 200+ million different research papers out there and growing. There's so many research papers being done. That's one of the reasons I love an AI tool like this Answer This, because it's going to allow me to really keep up to date with so much information that's being generated. There's a cool feature that I looked at called the Citation Map. So I'll show you this as well, but I did a quick search on virtual reality in education, and I found a paper that seemed interesting. It had quite a few citations against it. So I was able to go in and create this cool citation map using Answer This that shows me that paper. I just put in the DOI of the paper, and it shows me where I have citations, where A is cited by B, where there's a reference, and where there's indirect connection. And you can choose the level of depth. Of course, the more depth you look at, the longer it's going to take to generate this result. There's even a word processing editor in here, so I can import a PDF, I can edit it, I can work with it, I can do all sorts of nice editing right here. And you can see the projects that I've been working on. So I created a query where I found relevant studies on virtual reality in education, but I'm going to go back home and do a complete research question here. You can see I also have a lot of these options down the side, and underneath my profile, that's where I could go to upgrade the plan. And I will put a link down in the description where you can find where you can look for the free plan as well as upgrade to a pro plan if it's appropriate for your use. So here I can go in, there's a prompt helper here. The prompt helper, if I select the tool in terms of what I'd like the prompt to help me do, for example, I might want to look for research questions. So you can see it can help me with the ideation phase. One of the things that when it comes to doing a literature review is that all literature reviews are going to begin with a good quality research question, and AnswerThis can help me formulate that question. I could say do a literature review if I already have something in mind. There's a lot of different ways that it can help me generate a prompt, but watch this. I'm going to say suggest research questions for, and I'm going to say, let's do virtual reality. So I'll do virtual reality in education. And when I say create a prompt for this, you'll notice it's going to say suggest research questions for. So at this point here, I'm not really sold on the prompt helper because it's basically just putting, what would you like a prompt about? I'd like a prompt about research questions. On what subject? Virtual reality. Then I should ask, suggest research questions for virtual reality. So hopefully we'll see that improve with the product as it matures and evolves. But right now the prompt helper is basically just rephrasing the question I was asking. Here on the screen capture, you'll see I have my Grammarly here. They're not sponsored or involved in this video in any way at all. So I'm just going to do a search here. I could upload a file or a PDF as well. If I want to chat with a PDF, I'll show you that in a moment. So I'll go in here. Now this is really a very powerful part of AnswerThis, and that is where I can start filtering my research papers. A lot of times when there's a topic that has a lot of volume of research in it, I don't really want to take a look at papers that haven't had some citations. So I may wish to say, I need a paper that has at least 3 citations. And this is going to limit or filter my result set so that I'm not seeing papers that really haven't gotten any action or anybody's really reading. Now, this could also limit me from seeing brand new papers, but I'm willing to take the risk. I want to find maybe more established papers that have been cited elsewhere. I have the turbo mode, which I am going to enable here just for the sake of speed, but I will potentially sacrifice some comprehensiveness. If I was actually doing a literature review for a research project, I might turn off turbo mode. It would take a longer time to pull results for me, but that's okay. It's still going to save me a whole lot of time compared to if I had to visit the stacks and pull the papers myself, or even in an electronic digital library, pulling all the papers myself is a very time-consuming process. This is going to speed it up enormously. So I could take out the turbo mode, even if it took a couple of hours to generate a result. That's better than a couple of months, which is typical of a literature review. I can go in and choose databases. I really like this feature because I can look at what data sources I want to look at in terms of high quality databases for academic papers. And if I want to focus it, for example, on PubMed, I could do that as well. So you have some choices in terms of the databases that you're going to search for papers. I could do a web search. I'm not a fan of doing a web search unless I'm doing something really new where there's not a lot out there and I'm really prepared to vet a lot of the web searches. I've talked about that previously on the channel. When we do proper research, the web is full of improper research. There is some good content on the web. Anyways, I'm not going to talk about the web. I usually do not want to do a web search, but you at least have the option here to do the web search, which I think is very powerful. You can also look at patents. You can look at your own library, which I briefly talked about, and AI-only results. And then here's an important one, publication date. If you've worked with digital libraries before, you're familiar with this type of feature. So I do want to go in and I want to make sure that when it comes to virtual reality, I really just want to look at the past couple of years of research because it's such a fast-changing field. Again, I might miss some papers. I can always go back and redo the topic or the date ranges and such. But for this search and this demo, I'm just going to do the past couple of years. and I could double check citations. I could even pull full paper or just grab like the abstracts, paper summaries, and I could still grab the papers after the fact. But remember, I'm just trying to pull everything together right now. So I'm going to submit my search as these parameters indicate. Now you'll see that it can take a few moments as it goes through and it starts gathering all of the papers. And you might think, well, you know, this is taking a bit of time. Imagine though, if you had to go out and find all of these papers without the use of a tool like AnswerThis. The amount of work involved in going through library catalogs and databases in order to pull paper to build up your literature review can be exceptionally time consuming. So it's really nice to see it making progress here. I can go through and I can, you know, there's some trivia that's coming along here. But in my case, maybe what I'll do while I'm waiting for this to pull the papers and begin the analyzing process is I'm going to go and grab a cup of tea. So I'll just pause the video here for a moment and I'll go grab a cup of tea. Okay, so I'm back. I have my cup of tea and I also have a little black cat that's joined me, but she wants to go there now. So one of the things that it will also do that you may not have seen in the previous screen is it'll email me. So if this is going to be a complex search that will take quite some time, then I can just walk away from the process and I'll receive an email once it's finished the gathering of the information. So you can see right now I've got some different information here, research question for virtual reality in education. You can see I've already got some synthesis happening here with citations. So I'm starting to get a very nice, well-formed answer in here. And I've got over here the different resources that were used to generate that answer for me. So you can see I've got, in this case here, I've got a PDF that's not available because it's searching databases of publicly available research. So if anything's behind a paywall or not available, I will not be able to pull the PDF from here. But notice that I have the DOI. And I'm going to show you a trick in a moment using this resource, using the AnswerThis platform that I can then use to bring into a traditional library environment. That's very useful. So here you can see that the PDF's not available, but I have the DOI. I have the summary of this particular, or the abstract of this particular article. I can choose different citation methods. So if I am going to pull this into citations for my own work, I can choose the type of citation. So Chicago, APA, MLA, Harvard. I can see multiple different resources in here. You can see that for some of the resources, the PDF is available. If the PDF is available, I can save that to the library. So that's my library here. I can actually save anything to the library, but here I can actually chat with this paper. So because this paper is available, I can actually use the AI that's built into AnswerThis, and I can set it up so I can now have a conversation. Me and AI can go to this paper and we can say, hey paper, we have some questions for you and we would like you to answer them. So here you can see I've got my paper here and it's got the PDF on this side here. And then what I can do is I can chat with the paper. So let's say, for example, there's a section in here, analysis of the research here. So I can highlight this section, actually quite a bit of it, and I can say, could you please explain this selected text to me? So now the chat's going to go in there and it's going to analyze the section that I chose, and it's going to provide an explanation of what that section is talking about. So this can really help me, especially if I'm forming new questions in an area that maybe I have less experience with, or that I need some assistance in terms of, you know, breaking it down, understanding it in different ways here. So I can go here, I can get an explanation. It says, you know, this reviews the existing research on the use of virtual and augmented reality technologies and game simulators in education. So I can see, you know, that's maybe right in line with what I would like to begin doing my own research on. So you can see I've already got this really nice ability to chat with a document. I've got the ability to explain selected text. There's other things that we can do here. I can go in, was it helpful? Yes, it was helpful. Thank you very much. I can download it as a PDF or a Word document, or I could copy it. So I could start pulling this into maybe my own systems that I may have. So a good example is a lot of people might use Zotero as a bibliography, as a way of keeping track of all of their resources and such, or other tools. And you can use those. So I'm just going to go back to my document here, I'll just go back a couple here, go back to my review. Okay, so there you can see that I've gone in, you can see my project exists here, you can see that I've got now a couple of projects in here. One of the things that I like to do here as well, actually go back to the relevant studies on virtual reality and education. So if I pull this document here, it pulls it here. One of the things I can do is I can select all of these documents. So even though the PDF's available, I go down, you can see here's PDF not available. So I have all of these different resources here. And how many did it give me? So if I scroll down, you can see I've got quite a few. So I've got 6 pages worth of different research articles that I can start working with. You can see citations are 23. So this is probably a very good one to start looking at. I'll want to be able to read that and summarize it. I want to chat with it, explain it. You can see here I have citations. If I scroll up a little bit here, 30 citations. So the more citations I have, the more interested I'm definitely going to be in reading that article or having a little chat with it, making sure that I'm comfortable with it. But when I go through and select them all, so I'm going to select them all, I can actually go in, I can add them to my library, but I can export them. And I can export them out to CSV or BibTeX. And the reason I really like to do this, and I can do a sort here by default date or citations, but I'm going to go in and export it as a CSV. So I'm going to grab the CSV file, and in my case, I have Microsoft Excel installed. So it just checks it, my security checks it, make sure that there's nothing nefarious in the file. You're not going to have to worry about that. But I'm going to go in and I'm going to open this file, and this will bring it up in Microsoft Excel. And the reason why I like to export it and bring it up in Microsoft Excel is that I can then go in with this CSV file, and not just with Microsoft Excel, but I can go in and I can look at the journal that it came from, and I can go ahead and I can take a look here at the data publication. There's a lot of information that I have on this Excel spreadsheet that can allow me to extract the DOI for those different articles that I'm interested in. So if there are any journals that I know that my academic or research library is subscribed to, and I know that the PDF was not available on a public database, then what I can do is I can start using this to sort the data, and I can say, okay, there's a lot of articles in a specific journal that the PDF is not available publicly, it's behind a paywall, but I can grab the DOIs and I can either request them through my subscriptions or I can request them through a interlibrary loan. So maybe all of the librarians out there are going to be very upset that I showed you this, because now they're going to start getting 30 or 40 requests a day for different DOI to pull articles for interlibrary loans. But you know what? Research must go on, and the fact that we can do this through this tool is absolutely fantastic. So I can go in, I could pull in, I didn't pull anything into my library actually. So if I go into my project here, let me go back to my project here. So I have my project that I did here. It takes a few seconds just to pull it up again. So I could go in and I could grab all of these and I could actually put them in, so I could export them out, like I said, but I could actually go in and choose specific ones. I'll just save a few to my library here. So I'm just going to, obviously you want to do this with intention. So I want to go through and save these to the library with intention. But then when I go to my library, you'll see that those papers are now part of my library. So I can start building this up. I can go in and grab PDFs here, so I can start chatting with those that have PDFs available. right? I can also change the type of citation. I already talked about that a little bit. So you can see that we can do a lot here. To some extent, this literature review is just the tip of the iceberg in terms of what I can do. I can also go in and do some things like underneath the prompt helper again, I could go in and do things like look for different gaps that might exist within the literature. I can generate a research outline, so that's a great way to begin the process. I could even generate a research proposal. All of these are great different ways that I can interact with these papers to really start understanding what's available. There is a custom search in here, but things like a gap in the literature, this is a great way for me to go in and I'll go virtual reality in education. It seems to be the theme of tonight. So I'll go here and I'll create this virtual reality in education. Let's look for some gaps in the literature. I'll go ahead and again, I'm just gonna, in this case here, choose the date format. But this would be great if I wanted to try to find something unique that I could submit or work on. I don't want to just repeat research that others have done. I'll use the research and cite the research and benefit from their research, but maybe I want to look where I can contribute something. There's a gap in the literature and I contribute. This tool, AnswerThis, will allow me to start identifying those gaps. So it's going to analyze it and it's going to generate the gap. Once again, I'll just pause the recording and we'll be right back. Okay, so that took less than 3 minutes. And comment down below if you've ever identified research gaps in a body of knowledge in less than 3 minutes. And if you have, then you're an AI. So when they ask you if you're a robot, you can't say you're not a robot, you are. Anyways, I've got this nice thing where I've got some opportunities in here. I've got research gaps identified. I've got some citations that will help me identify why there is a gap in the research. There's a lot more I can do. I'm not going to spend 2 hours on this video. I think I've shown you a lot of what AnswerThis can do. But I do want to show you one more thing because it's kind of neat. If I have a look here and grab one of the DOIs, I'm going to go ahead and copy. Well, I followed the DOI. So if I go ahead and I copy the DOI, I can click on it and that will take me to the paper because there was a PDF available for this one here. So I can go through, I can accept the cookies on this site here, and you can see that I've got the research here. But I can also take that DOI and I can go back here. Let's go back. I'm just going to go back here. We'll go into new. I'll go into a citation map. And underneath here, what I can do is I could put in that DOI that I just grabbed. I can search that DOI, this implementation of virtual reality in health professional higher education. And I can now say I want to whatever type of citation I want to use. That's less relevant here, but I can set this as the origin to now go out and look at other papers that are related to it. So now you can see it's going to go in and it's generating, based upon that DOI, other papers that are now related to it, and I'm going to be able to follow that paper. Now in this case here, probably should have chosen a paper. There we go. So I go in here and I can start not just seeing the paper, but I can start seeing how the paper connects into other papers, which is a really important aspect to any literature review, is you want to choose literature that has some relevance within the subject that you're researching. Anything that's isolated or a single paper that hasn't received any citation maybe is not as impactful. It doesn't necessarily dismiss that paper, but normally you do want something that has some citations coming in to that paper that are saying this is a worthwhile or this is a good piece of research. Sometimes harder with new research, but that's a topic on researching. So when we take a look at AnswerThis, you can see that what we have is what I consider to be a really nice tool that uses AI to do what I think AI should do, and that is that search and synthesis function. It's not replacing me as a researcher, but it's definitely making me much more efficient as a researcher because I'm not spending that time in the gathering phase, or even necessarily in the synthesizing phase, I can move on to the actual research, the analytical phase, and starting to contribute to the body of knowledge in the areas that I want to do research. If you're interested in research, I do have this other video here where I talk about the phases of research. And as always, comment down below on any topics that you'd like to see more of and that you'd like to see me use different tools to make us more efficient in working with. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.